Oh yeah, look at those waveforms. It can hear us. Hello, and welcome to the post-credit shit show. I'm George.
I did not know that it was called this. And I am Chris.
And we're going to talk about some movies and potentially shit on them.
I don't think potential is... I think it's a certainty.
So the first movie we decided to watch was Happy Death Day to You.
A movie we were both looking forward to.
Very looking forward. So, like, I guess technically this episode we get 3 quick movie things, but because we gotta talk about the first one briefly. So in the first movie, Happy Death Day, it stars Jessica Roth as a character named Tree. And she dies, but like she experiences like a bit of a time loop until she can like defeat her killer.
It's like Groundhog Day, where the killer kills her and the day starts over again. But the whole crux of it is that she's actually a really terrible person, sleeping with her teacher. She's really mean to her sorority sisters. She hasn't come to terms with her mom dying. She's just, at the beginning, she's college bitch.
Mm-hmm. But she becomes a good person at the end. Solves the murder. Makes everyone happy.
I mean, anyone will become a good person after you die like 80 times.
Well, so according to the sequel, she only died 11 times.
Oh, God. Okay.
I remember that line. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I thought there were more flashbacks.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, we both liked it. You know, Laura liked it when we went to see it in the theaters. And when we heard there was a sequel, we were like, this sounds really good. We saw the trailer, and the way the trailer made the movie look, the sequel, is that, like, more people are involved in the time loop now.
I have to admit, I genuinely do not remember the trailer. I just remember that there was one, and I know that's not great, but yeah, we were, because of how much we liked Happy Death Day 1, it has some genuinely really good moments.
It does.
I was excited to see Happy Death Day 2.
And so was I. So, like, it came out in theaters. We didn't get a chance to see it for some reason.
Yeah, there was a lot going on at that time. I don't think that was pandemic, but that was certainly...
It came out February 2019. So I don't know what the heck we were doing.
What were we doing in February? Like 2 years ago.
A year before the pandemic.
Yeah. What the shit?
But then, like, we forgot to see it. I picked it up on Blu-ray thinking we'd see it at a movie night. We just never did. Pandemic happened.
I'm going to be honest, now that I think about it, I don't remember knowing that it came out. I thought it was still being made.
I recall seeing a trailer for it, like, at some movie we saw, and we're like, oh, we should see that. I just forgot.
Oh, man.
I feel like that's what happened.
Probably, yeah.
And then, I was just like, hey, Chris, let's watch a movie. And you're like, hey, this is on Netflix.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Netflix and I was like, hey, Happy Death Day 2's on Netflix. Like, I'm gonna go watch it. So here I am, having watched Happy Death Day to You.
So do you want to go over a plot synopsis of To You?
The best I can remember. So it starts off with, Tree's boyfriend's best friend. Mm-hmm. So we're going down the line here. He wakes up in his car and he goes, it's having you're kind of getting the same vibe that you did at the beginning of Happy Death Day, where there's a couple different things happening. Somebody's dog almost attacks him. The homeless guy pops out from a bush. Do you want to sign for the world peace or the green tree or whatever? Yeah,
distinctly like bits where you're like, okay, this is so we know that when he repeats, like this is how the sequence of events goes.
Oh, these things are so uncanny they can't happen twice, but then they do. So obviously, and then he tries to go to his dorm, but things are happening between man and boy, and he gets kicked out. Sorry, man and girl.
He goes to
his science lab.
His lab, because they're in college or university, so, I mean, like, they're probably doing something for a thesis or whatever, their classes.
It seems like it's some sort of extracurricular thing.
Yeah.
Because the principal comes in like this fucking huge-ass machine that you can't get to work properly, is costing us time and money, and it's actually, like, costing the electrical bills to go skyrocketing. It's actually taking out power to our whole campus because you try to keep running this thing. And everyone's like, "Oh, what the heck is it?" It's like this weird metal orb that they shoot lasers into. And it's supposed to. What was it supposed to do again?
Something about quantum mechanics.
It was slow down time or
yes,
something.
It was supposed to be able to slow time down on a molecular level, which is science jargon.
Yeah, science fiction-y.
Yeah.
But then
he dies.
Oh yeah, he like the power goes out, and then he tries to go to like turn the power on, and he opens up a closet. And then a dude pops out and stabs him. And then he's just dead, and he wakes up in his car again, living the same day that he did before.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, oh, okay, so the focus will be on somebody new. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe it's obvious when he gets back to his dorm room, this character's best friend is obviously the love interest from the first movie, which means the main character is also in the bed, and she's like, "Oh, I know your situation. I did it."
Mm-hmm. And it's like, "Oh, this is great." So it's like it'll be interesting to see like, "Oh, he's gonna have to go through what she did," and this kind of like went on to what I thought, where it's like more people get involved, where it's like because she's like, "Oh, it's been passed on to you." I'm like, "Oh, so it's gonna go like around the group, and it's gonna be like this weird thing."
It's almost like when she said it's been passed on to you, it's almost like it felt like. The repeat day thing almost had a conscience, like it could be passed off, and I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to like it walking through other people's day,
and like there's another killer who's like taking up the mantle. It's like I'm interested to see where this goes, because
part of the whole mystery for the first one was who is the killer, because we never really find out. There's a lot of speculation, even when they're like, oh yeah, it's this person. It's not.
Yeah, you don't find out till the end, and it's a good mystery.
Yeah, so the whole time you're sitting there thinking, okay, who wants this guy dead? Mm-hmm. And that was what I was looking forward to, finding out who wanted the love interest's friend dead.
Mm-hmm. So, spoiler warnings. It turns out, so on the second day, they find out, the killer is himself from another dimension.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay. They decide to switch on the machine to try and get rid of the copy.
Yeah, the copy is saying that running the machine's a bad idea, but in that moment, the original, I don't know, the terminology isn't perfect, but the one that we know starts to turn on the machine and goes, no, I know exactly what I'm doing, and then it starts to power up, and
then everyone gets blasted away from it, and then it cuts to Tree waking up back on the first day from the first movie, and it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And she's freaking out oh no, I gotta do this thing again, god damn it.
Yeah, she it's not just, oh no, I'm going to die. She is heapingly pissed off rage boner. Mm-hmm. And she finds she kicks down her fucking dorm room. Well, it doesn't. She kicks open her dorm room door. Mm-hmm. And yells down the hallway for him. And
I was like, I like this. This is kind of funny. I'm like, okay, I'm really into this. Something's going on. Sure, let's work with this. And then it turns out she's in a parallel dimension. There are things that are just slightly off, the person who wanted her dead doesn't want her dead in this. Yes. There's a different person who's a killer.
So the thing is that it turns out that the machine was the reason why she was living the same day over and over again. And now the machine has also transported her to a alternate reality of the one she's used to.
Yeah.
So at that point, I lost faith in the movie.
Yes,
as soon as I figured I have to write it out. We're not even. This is the first third, and I'm like, oh, this is bad.
So. So yeah, there's the killer is back. She dies. She repeats the day again. She's essentially trying to get back to her original dimension, but then she starts finding out oh, things here are too bad. My mom's alive.
Yeah, my mom's alive. I've got a good relationship with my friends. My sorority sisters are kind of cool. The major downside is that the head sorority sister is in a relationship with her boyfriend, but they never were together in this dimension, and she gets all kind of jealous about it.
And
yeah.
And then, like, it ends up after a couple of repeats and everything, and her being like, no, I want to go back to my one. That's what, I should be doing. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of issue context between what you just said and her starting to repeat the days again.
Yeah.
That pocket, I feel, is the worst of the movie.
Yes, we'll go deep into that in a second. And, so she goes, they get the machine fixed, she goes back to her dimension, the movie just kind of ends.
Yeah, she says, like, all right, well, that's it. I have my boyfriend, my mom's dead, and I don't know. I think that's it.
That's basically it.
That's neat.
So, I want to go over a couple of things here.
Yep, you fire away.
Because I did a little bit of research.
Oh, God. Is this going to make me hate the movie more?
Probably.
Okay.
The original movie was announced back in 2007. It took 10 years for them to make it.
When was Happy Death Day 1 out?
It came out in 2017. Or 2017, yeah. So the reason I want to bring that up, so these two movies are obviously Blumhouse movies, and they're famous for, making movies on, like, a smaller budget.
Yeah.
That's just how Steve Blumhouse works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Steve Blum, whatever his name is. Happy Death Day 1 made $125 million worldwide on a $4.8 million budget, which isn't too bad.
Okay, yeah.
So Happy Death Day 2's budget was $9 million. How much do you think it made?
Ooh.
On a $9 million budget.
So I'm not a big movie follower. I just like watching movies a lot. But the fact that I didn't know when this movie came out probably means that they're a couple million under budget.
64 million. A huge decrease from the making of the first one, but still made a lot of money on it.
Yep. That'll do it.
Filming for this movie started in May of 2018, so like fairly shortly after the first movie came out. A third one is in the works, titled Happy Death Day to Us.
Oh, come on! That's gonna make it confusing as all get out.
Oh, hell yeah.
You can't just, like... I know there's no pun to make for Happy Death Day 3 tree. Like, that doesn't work, but Happy Death Day to you and then Happy Death Day to us.
Just call it Happy Death Day to the threesome.
Because, like, they're just taking the title of this one and then adding an S to the end of it.
Yep.
No, that's bad.
Both movies were directed by Christopher Landon. Talked about the idea for a sequel being about why Tree was in the time loop or was able to experience the time loop.
Because of the science machine.
Yes. Jessica Roth said in an interview, the sequel elevates the movie from being a movie into a Back to the Future type genre film, where the sequel joins us right from where we left off. It explains a lot of things in the first one that didn't get explained, and it elevates everything. End quote.
I feel like that might have been a line. Like, I'm praying that was a line that she was fed and then told to say in interviews. Because explaining how horror movie magic works ruins a lot of the mystique.
So, a big problem I have with this movie is one of the reasons why the first one worked, and why, obviously, one of the huge inspirations for the movie, which is Groundhog Day, works really well. So the idea of both of them is that you don't ever really know why they experience the time loop. It's not the focus of the story. The focus is the character development.
Like, usually the reason is, like, the universe or magic has dictated that this singular person needs to learn a lesson or grow or change so that they can... It's almost like the repeat of the day is a metaphor for having the character not have to repeat this in life. You know? Being a shitty person in college doesn't mean that you should continue to be a shitty person. You need to learn.
Yeah. But, like, obviously that's why both those movies work, Who cares why Bill Murray has experienced a time loop in, on Groundhog's Day? He becomes a better character of experiencing the same day thousands of times. Who cares why, Tree is going through a time loop? Yeah. She becomes a better person, and she finds out who her killer is.
Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1.
It's a good 2-for. What other notes do you have?
both movies rated okay, surprisingly, getting between 6 to 7 out of 10s and 70% on Rotten Tomato. So surprisingly, people were equally okay with this movie as they were with the last one, which is weird.
I don't know. General populace is not a great thing to judge by.
The movie was originally supposed to come out on Valentine's Day.
Why?
I know, that's weird, but had to come out a day earlier because a relative, I guess, there was a victim of a high school shooting who said, hey, let's not put it on Valentine's Day. Just a random note I found.
What? Oh, okay. That doesn't seem strange at all.
No. And that's all the notes until we get to the actual movie.
Your notes and your research. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do we start? I guess the biggest comment I want to make is that it feels like misguided. The movie feels misguided. Like they drop a lot of good opportunities and then trivialize some parts from that they bring forward that were kind of issues in the first movie.
Yeah. So the biggest issue I had with this movie was the pacing. So the movie is, I think it's like what, 9 or you have to slip this part out. Doesn't say on that. It is an hour and 40 minutes. Did this movie ever feel like an hour and 40 minutes to you?
It felt like a slog to get through.
Oh.
But it didn't feel like it had a content enough for an hour and 40.
To me, it felt like the movie was only 60 minutes long because like how bizarre its pacing was. It's just like by the time like they were getting to like the big climax, it was like, oh, the movie's almost over.
It felt like they got to the big climax like twice.
I think you'll probably agree with this. Is the movie pretends like there's stakes involved, but like you don't give a shit.
The one stake that was the big centralizing issue of the first movie that it does appear in the second is that she can only die so many times. Tree goes into the hospital and like after dying so many times in the first one, the doctor's like, you should be dead. You have broken bones. You know, the insides of like, you look like you've experienced severe electrical shocks, poisoning. You've been stabbed how many times, but you're still standing here. It shouldn't be medically possible. And then she gets it in her head, oh, if I die too many times, I'm not coming back from this. I need to solve my issue now. And then, so it went from, oh no, spooky movie to, oh haha, I can have fun with this, to, oh no, I'm on a fucking time limit.
And then, yeah, with this one, it's one of the big stakes in this. Like, they bring back, like, oh, yeah, you can only die so many times. But, like, the biggest stake is, like, oh, my mom's alive in this reality, but I don't get my boyfriend here.
I can't have my cake and eat it, dude.
And, like,
I don't care if I'm gonna... Because that was it. Like, I didn't like how they said, like, oh, well, to solve the problem, you can always, like, I don't know, kill yourself and repeat the day. But then she's like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll just kill myself a bunch. But you know that's going to cause an issue later. Why would you, what? How is this the solution?
And like I said, like I didn't care for this. Like at no point was I like, man, I really wish she could stay with her mom. Like her mom character was just like two-dimensional. She existed.
They could have picked a mannequin with a tape recorder and given it a blonde wig and went mother.
That's about as much as I cared.
That about as she's super loyal to her husband
and likes her daughter.
But that's it. Like you can't characterize this character because to do so would take away from the rest of the movie, which has been taking away too much from other parts of the movie already.
And then like on top of it, you can't just have Tree be like, I'm a shitty person. I have to become a less shitty person. It's like, we've already done that.
Yeah. It's not Tree's issue anymore. The issue is the science project.
Yeah. And, like, I kind of didn't care.
Yeah, so there's almost the most emotional growth that she gets. The only emotional growth that happens throughout the entire movie is that she's like, I like my boyfriend more than I like my mom. And that's terrible. I'm not saying that her choice was wrong. It's just for a movie character development, that's not satisfying to watch.
Yeah. And, like, you'd be like, oh, no, her real choice was, like, she didn't want to take this away from, like, the real tree from this dimension. And it's like, no. Before she leaves, she literally tells the person, like, I'm doing this for you. And that's, like...
She tells her boyfriend, I'm changing the universe so I can be with you again. And then she just walks away.
Yeah. I have it written here, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie kind of had a heist moment where they were, like, getting the machine. So, like, it drops the whole murder plot, which, that's another thing, like... The whole point of, like, who's the killer takes a huge backseat to everything else in this movie.
Yeah, this is not a horror movie. This is a sci-fi movie.
This is a sci-fi
with
movie.
a dude who has a knife.
Yeah. So, like... that's the other big thing about the first one is, like, the interesting part of, like, who wants to kill Tree. And, like, they kind of set up, like, a lot of good red herrings, potential suspects. Flub line.
You can do it.
Thank you. Retake. But in this one, it's just, like, you don't really get any of, like, who could be or anything like that. It's just, like, it's revealed, oh, it's not the killer, like, or, like, it's not the person from the first movie who was the real killer.
Yeah.
It's not the murderer who was set up. It's the doctor and his wife.
So let me get this, because now that I think about it, now that I'm hearing it out loud. So, Tree's murderer, the guy in the baby mask, is a person that doesn't know Tree in this reality.
Yes. That's another thing. The teacher does not know who Tree is and does not have any relationship with her.
The killer is Tree and... Sorry, the killer is the doctor, professor, and his wife. The reason that they're killing is that they're killing Tree's best friend who is in a relationship with the doctor. The doctor doesn't want his reputation ruined, and the wife doesn't want to have to give up being rich and famous or whatever. Yeah. So an affair is not so they're both coming together to kill Tree's friend. So,
but at no point do you feel like, oh yeah, he probably is the killer or anything like that. It's just like, oh, okay.
So let me ask real quick. Why did Tree have to kill herself a bunch so that they could continue the plot? Because the issue with not continuing the day wasn't that the killer was going to kill people. The issue is that the killer's going to kill her, so she might as well do it herself.
Yeah.
So why does she need to kill herself if the killer's not after her?
Exactly.
Like, I know she didn't know that the killer wasn't after her, but...
In the universe of the movie, where it's just like, things would happen whether she was involved in it or not, at no point she'd be like, oh yeah, this killer's definitely after her. It's just...
Yeah, like... It felt like in the first one there was clear-cut rules and clear-cut motivations, and even if the motivations were mysterious, but after hearing everything, it all made sense. With this one, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
Like, why? So, after Tree goes into the alternate universe, the boyfriend's friend just flat out says, oh, there could never be two of us, two of you, or two of anybody in any dimension. That's impossible. A scene before, there were two of them in the same room.
Yeah.
That doesn't go anywhere. Like, why is the machine that just...
You brought up another thing that I completely forgot. Why is there not two trees in the one universe?
Yeah, like, there was opportunity there. And, like, she's just gone. Like, did the other tree die? No, everyone knows her. She's living a life that isn't hers.
Yeah.
Did the other tree go to the alternate universe? Why did they never talk about that? What happened to Tree 2?
I want that movie. I want the movie where Tree 2 just realizes that she is like, unliked.
You know, like, there's so many questions where I have like, well, why didn't this happen? And why didn't this happen? Why didn't this happen? And then it brings me to like the whole thing where I just say, this was a deeply unsatisfying movie for me. And the only way I could sum up, like, this movie's personality, as I do air quotes, seems like it... You know how there's movies that are, like, stuck in the shadow of their previous movie, like, you know, sequels. This one feels like it's never tried to leave its shadow, and it instead decided to set up shop and a shack and have called it its entire personality.
Yes.
This is who I am. I am the first one, but worse. And more confusing. Like, I just wanted I thought maybe a new killer and a new person, like, you know how, like, some horror movies, I can't think of an example, but, like, have, you know, the survivor from the first one comes back, but they're playing, like, more of a side character role, the kick-ass person who's been through this horror shit before, and is able to handle it, helping the people who are new to this.
You think, like, the Scream franchise, for instance.
I thought Tree was going to play that role. I was excited to see her take not a backseat, but more of a support role.
Or a mentor.
Or a mentor. Like, main character material, but still not the person getting killed. Mm-hmm. And that just didn't happen.
And like I said, when I saw the trailer, I was thinking, like, more people get involved in the time loop.
And, like, another question of, like, why is someone killing what? Why did the friend character's alternate universe version of him want to kill himself?
To stop the machine, I guess?
But instead of just saying, hey, I'm you need to listen to me real quick, he decided to kill himself.
Or why not just sabotage the machine?
Like, there's so many better ways that this issue could have been handled, but that whole first third of the movie feels like it could have been removed and changed with something maybe even shorter that made way more sense.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing about the movie that I didn't like is that they over-explained the reason why she had the time loop.
Never a good idea.
Bullshit horror movie magic. Like, horror magic bullshit, whatever you want to, like, makes way more sense than 3 university students decided to make a time machine by accident. You lost me. It's insane how anyone could have thought that was a good idea.
And I mean, to top it off, the movie before the credits roll ends with someone shitting their pants. So,
oh god, did it? I didn't remember that.
Literally before, like, the credits roll, you just hear someone be like, "I think I shit myself."
Oh.
So I mean, like, that kind of
the movie shit the bed.
There is also a post-credits scene as well.
I stopped watching the movie before that. What happens?
The government comes in. They're like, "Hey, we need your machine. It does things."
Oh no!
They bring the students in and they're like, "Hey, we need a test subject." And then they have the sorority bully sister person become the test subject, and you just, like, see, like, a shot of her, like, waking over bed, like, ah, and then it cuts the proper credits.
That's awful.
It is.
Oh my god. What in the goddamn is the next one going to be about? This is... like, okay. I didn't like this movie.
No, I didn't either.
The third one will be a farce. It will have nothing to do with the first one at all. It'll have nothing to do with the
I'm slightly curious to see where they go with it, because I can't see anything interesting coming out of it, but...
like, I don't know. I got nothing. I got not like that's everything. Like, I don't know if I could bear to watch the third one. But okay. I think I might just have to, just because, I mean, I've watched shit like the Angry Birds movie. I'm sure I'm going to watch other... Granted, I watched the Angry Birds movie again before I watched this one. Not saying a lot.
Okay, so the final thing I'll have to ask is, would you recommend this movie to anyone?
No! This is one of those things where I say, like, you could watch Happy Death Day. It's fun. It's got a lot of good moments. It does about faces that are great. It's well written, but I would implore you to stop there.
I agree with you 100%. The first movie, fun, perfect. There is no second movie.
No. And it's going to get even more confusing to try and be like, oh, you should watch Happy Death Day, but don't watch Happy Death Day to you, but you should totally watch Happy Death Day to us, because it totally redeems the whole series. No. That sentence sounds crazy. It's insane. Maybe the Happy Death Day to us will redeem the whole thing, but how do you, like, it's just going to be confusing for anyone who isn't watching these movies pretty much as they come out.
Are you saying there's some sort of deep lore that this movie gives us that the third one...
No.
you need for the third movie?
I think the third one is going to try and make its money back, but I don't know how. I think it's just going to lose a lot of money again.
I will be surprised if Blumhouse does another 9 million on it.
Yeah, I'll probably cut it down to like 6 and be like, you can work with this, right?
You did the first one with 4.8. You can do it again.
Yeah.
You can do it on 4 million, right?
I'm just hoping that the cast of actors and the people on set are having fun.
I mean,
that's the biggest thing.
Even still, like, Jessica Roth, who was good in the first movie, she's still good in this one.
Like, the acting is great. Like, as far as you could...
I just wish, like, it was a better movie.
Like, it's the plot, and it's the editing, and it's the pacing, and it's the writing.
And I think this is also another thing with Blumhouse, is just, like, if they can give a movie, like, a small enough budget, they'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, there'll probably be a 4th one. There'll probably be a 5th one. If it makes more money than the budget, then it'll happen.
I just like to see them do something else.
I'm sure we can pitch a really crappy movie and like, give us money to do it because like there's a potential to make back.
If you give us $1 million, we'll give you garbage.
Give us 10,000. We will give you garbage, but we'll make money.
You give us a solid K, a singular K. We'll do it.
Are you listening, Mr. Steve Blumhouse?
Mr. John Steve Blumhouse.
Chris, this episode's sponsored by someone.
Oh no, is it Raid fucking Shadow Legends?
No, not yet. We're not that good.
They pay good money though.
I just got this from the producer. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Meta VPN.
I don't like where this is going.
Data protection and security is important in this day and age. Just look at what's happened to Twitter and Facebook not that long ago. You know what happened to them, right?
No?
Just look at what happened. Oh, wait, I already read that. That's why we're teaming up with the folks at Meta VPN. Meta VPN is a trusted name by many, with no history of data leaks or sharing of personal information. MetaVPN promises to protect your data from being shared with private or public companies, individuals, countries, or political groups. To get set up with MetaVPN, just head over to facebook.com and sign up for free. Okay. Thank you, MetaVPN, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Do you want a free membership with MetaVPN?
I've never heard of them. I'm sure they're good. I'm curious how many people are many, though. Like, it could be 5.
All right. Ready to talk about the second movie there, Chris?
I think so.
So, the second one we watched was called Yakuza Apocalypse.
Yes. When we started with a not-so-great horror movie, and we ended with a... I don't even know what the right word is. It was a very entertaining movie. Extraordinarily entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. That's the best way to put it. It was very entertaining. Yakuza Apocalypse. So this movie came out in May of 2015. Production on it started in April 2014, so basically a good year. The movie is directed... by
a madman.
The madman's name, though, is Takeshi Miki, who you don't know, but for those who might think, oh, that sounds familiar, he's known for directing movies like Ichi the Killer, Audition, 13 Assassins, The Ace Attorney, and the JoJo Bizarre Adventure live-action movies.
Right.
And his filming style is very, like, dark humor weird.
I couldn't tell.
So, should we go through a bit of the plot, I guess?
Okay, so just to more or less summarize the plot, it starts with a member of the Yakuza whose leader turns out to be a vampire. A vampire, not just a vampire, a Yakuza vampire. Apparently there's a very distinct difference between the two. When you're bitten by a vampire, you want to suck the blood. When you're bitten by a Yakuza vampire, you turn into a gangster.
Into a Yakuza. a full-fledged Yakuza. And, like, that's kind of where the apocalypse angle comes in, is, like, So the boss, as he's like, beheaded by like these hunters who've come to find him, the boss like sucks, like implants his blood into one of his people, who becomes, a new Yakuza vampire, and unbeknownst to him, he bites other people because he
doesn't know how this works. He's blood hungry and he bites, but no one told him not to. And he infects other people.
The thing that it doesn't get explained too well in the movie, but like you kind of pick up on it, is the only bite people who are civilians, because civilian blood is pure and Yakuza blood is tainted
for some reason. Yeah, like it never really came up after that. As a plot point, it was just like, here's a detail. It's like, but it's like, what do we do with this?
And it's only important because like they never attack other Yakuza people because their blood isn't great.
Yeah, they just get the civilians, and like, they end up getting a lot of civilians.
And it explains why there's like, the room of old men who are like just knitting because they're trying to become civilians again.
Yeah, so I got at the beginning, they've got this basement filled with, I guess, very old ex-Yakuza, and they're knitting, and they're trying not to like become angry and aggressive or very gangster-like, and it's like, well,
refuse cigarettes.
Yeah, why do they do this? Oh, well, the reason is they kill them, and their blood is then given to the boss,
so that way he doesn't need to suck other civilians' boss,
so it doesn't continue to infect anyone. But now that whole ecosystem is basically broken, the whole world is in trouble because of it.
And it's like, it should be noted, like, going up to this point, like, the movie is pretty tame in most regards.
It's certainly silly at some places,
yes,
but it is. I mean, a dude in like an Inquisitor's hat and neck ruffles shows up and just like, I'm the bad guy. Like, why are you speaking English? Everyone else is speaking Japanese.
Yeah, there are only two characters in the whole movie who speak English. And
who's the second one? I watched the movie with you.
I know you did. It's the other guy, the otaku.
No, he speaks fluent Japanese. He shows up and he goes, sumimasen. Excuse me.
Beyond that, though, he speaks English.
Oh, why don't I remember that?
Were you busy reading the subtitles that were also for them as well?
Yeah, for some reason the subtitles were 10 seconds off on the Amazon Prime version,
which is very weird.
I've got a dollar store DVD of this movie, and I was going to check if it was there too, but it was the whole reason that I wanted to watch this. I found it in the dollar store.
And the whole reason I want to watch it, because you told me, I'm like, oh my god, it's this guy directed it. I have to see this now.
You've got to watch it.
So after like the apocalypse happens, because he infects some civilians, those civilians start infecting other people, and like basically the entirety of Japan is nothing but Yakuzas.
It's a pyramid scheme, but now it's just vampire Yakuza.
Yeah. So the hunters are still there, and they want to stop the infection. It's not explained, but probably is assumed.
Yeah, they want to kill vampires, so they want to kill the main guy.
So they bring in a friend of theirs who is a kappa. Kappa?
Yeah, he's a kappa yokai. I always want to say demon, but it's not the right terminology. He's a kappa yokai, and for those of you who don't know, because this is very Japanese lore and culture, it's basically a turtle monster. Yeah, it's a bird-beaked, turtle-shelled mischief maker. It has a little pool of water in its head. It's supposed to be mischief and supposed to be kidnappy-y.
The makeup on this guy is great because it's a guy who has like a turtle shell.
It's like a backpack, and
he has like a pretzel beak thing going on in his mouth.
Yeah, like when you do beak makeup, it usually covers the human nose and the bottom of the human chin.
They just stuck in his mouth.
Yeah, they just put like two like Pringle chips into his mouth. And they're like, like, when you make duck lips.
It's funny.
But then eventually, like, he also brings in this dude in a frog suit who is apparently the most deadly creature on the planet, like the deadliest fighter.
And like you mentioned when we were watching, you're like, I think I've seen this GIF, and it's the GIF of the guy in like this very mascot frog suit,
very
just
baggy.
kicking the crap out of these people.
Like I've seen it a million times, and watching it in real time in an actual movie like made me have heart palpitations. I'm like, oh my god, it's real. It wasn't just some internet thing. But yeah, it's like he's walking down the street and a bunch of thugs want to fight him, and he just kicks the crap out of him with his better kung fu, and then he keeps going. It's like, oh no.
While this is happening, there's a side plot with, like, I guess the quote unquote villains who, the old Yakuza group that the boss was with, gets overtaken by this female, and for some reason she's leaking white fluid from her ears.
Yeah, it's some sort of pus. Like, is she a pimple or something? Like,
it's so that weird. Or like some sort of milk or something. And I'm just thinking there has to be something like very cultural to Japan. Like there's some sort of like myth or whatever about that, because I could not figure out, and it never is explained.
I think it was just something random.
It could have been.
I think it didn't have anything to do with the actual movie.
Eventually she becomes like brain dead because her brain is melting into this white goo.
And there was like this weird thing where she was like
going to...
babies were growing from her
She was going to make civilians by milking them with their brain.
Yeah, I don't even... There were a lot of... I guess part of the movie was very confusing, but watching like the fight scenes and watching these characters like talk at each other, not with each other, was hilarious. Like, the movie is happening. No one... Like... The movie is happening, but it's happening differently for every single character. Yeah. Every single character is, like, front and center. It's like, what's happening?
Like, the way it feels like is you have the main character, the new, really recruited Yakuza guy who becomes the vampire.
Yeah.
Who feels like he's taking this like a Yakuza movie, but things are just happening to him, and he's going with it. Like, this is normal. And then, like, everything else just feels very silly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so difficult to explain why this movie is fun to watch. Like, sitting back and actually talking about it, I'm like, this is stupid. How do you ever recommend this to somebody? It's like, no, you just need to show it to them. Sit them down and be like, this is crap. 100%. Let's watch it.
That's what I feel like with a lot of like movies from Japan. Like, we watched Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl and Robo Geisha. And those two movies, they're stupid as all hell, but they're like a fun stupid.
But yeah, there's like this certain level of Japanese B-movie that is so wonderful to watch. Like, you can't explain it. There's quality there, but you can't tell anybody how. You're just like, this is what it is.
So, anyways, the movie basically ends with
the frog guy dies, but in his death he summons the frog mascot king, who is the size of a kaiju Godzilla
from like Mount Fuji,
yeah,
and slowly coming towards, I guess Tokyo or Japan or wherever like this takes place, and then while the end of the world is happening, the main character and the otaku,
they get into a slap fight.
They basically get into like a manly slap fight till one of them passes out. And then like the one guy passes out, and then like the main character is just like, he's basically, I gotta go after the kaiju, and he just grows bat wings and flies off.
Yeah, he sheds his human skin. He's got this really dark, weird skin, and he's got like these the vampire mask that you'd expect this giant Batman.
Yeah,
and then like huge bat wings. He flies off to fight it, and that's where the movie ends. It's like
as a sequel bait, but like the movie came out like about 6 years ago, 7 now.
It was never gonna be a sequel. I've never ever.
I so want it. A couple of like behind the scene things. Okay. So, as we kind of mentioned, like the fight scenes in this are really good. Like they're fun, too
silly.
good for like this kind of a silly movie.
Okay.
And like the sound in it like makes them feel like very raw, like hits for something that's very silly.
Yeah.
And this is because the fight choreography, and also the guy who played the otaku was the main lead in The Raid and The Raid 2. So I don't know.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Oh.
And this movie marks his first movie that he did outside of Indonesia. So
I'm gonna have to watch those movies again. I didn't recognize them at all.
I know.
Hold on, I'm gonna bring that up. The Raid.
So this movie did get a release here in North America.
Somehow.
It was shown actually at the Cannes Festival and TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival.
Excuse you?
And that was it. That was its limited release. But so because of that, obviously its box office gross isn't anything big. It's like $12,000, which makes sense for just doing festival stuff.
Oh my god, that is the
Yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry, I just looked up the actor from The Raid, and yeah, that is just the otaku guy. He gets a little mustache, and that hurts me.
If not surprisingly, this got mixed reviews.
No.
But, 60% to 5 out of 10s, and it's unfortunately kind of chalked up to like, this is not a movie for everyone.
This is not a movie for anybody.
This is something that our group definitely likes because we're into those silly dumb movies. But like, if you're like, I'm gonna go see a international kind of movie, this is not it.
I'm going to see a tasteful international movie, or the guys who are the super purists where movies have to be art, not movies are art. But movies have to be art, and they have to be taken seriously, and they have to have...
This is not it.
This is not that.
And I think the other thing is, like, the director, he kind of does either these kind of movies, or, like, kind of more traditional, international Japanese kind of films that you expect. Like, 13 Assassins and Ichi the Killer are both, like, in that one category, whereas, like, Yakuza Apocalypse, Ace Attorney, the live action movie, and the JoJo Bizarre Adventure live action movie are like the silly shit.
It's like he purposely makes very good movies so that he can fund his shit.
Yeah.
It's like Adam Sandler if he decided to make good movies.
Well, the interesting thing is Takeshi, he's like one of the very few filmmakers out there who've broken over 100 movies that they've directed.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, because
he's allowed to do that.
Yeah, the international movie market is kind of a difficult thing to get in when the majority of the world just wants fucking white people talking about stuff and superheroes. It's like, no. I kind of want dumb shit made by people outside of the country I exist in.
Yeah.
Or outside the continent that I sit on.
It's definitely like a really fun, silly movie. Like I said, like if it's one of those like a Frankenstein versus a Vampire Girl or Robo Geisha or like Machine Gun Girl, like these really silly Japan movies, or Japanese movies, I should say.
Japan movies. Ooh, could have to censor that.
Well, I mean, that's what I like about like movies that are from Japan. Like their weird humor is something that is very exclusive to them. Like, yeah,
they've got like almost this perfect, like even when North American movies makers try to do like the same thing with like Kung Pao, it's never like Kung Pao is hilarious.
Yes.
I find it stupid funny, but
it's a certain brand of like no one would have thought about this.
Yeah, I would definitely say that like that little demographic is hit way better when it's a Japanese movie maker doing this B-movie type stuff rather than when a North American tries to do the same thing.
Yes. Like, kind of going into like Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein. There's a whole bit where it's a cult of people who slit their wrists, and it's played for laughs, and it's funny.
That's right. I forgot all about
and that whole group character is funny despite the fact that like people who cut their wrists, a very weird issue to be laughing at.
Wasn't one of the women in there like super ugly or something?
Yes.
God, I need to watch that movie again.
We've got reason to watch these movies now. Because I linked to you a bunch of movies that I just found where it's just like, there's one called Meatballs. And it's just like...
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Or like, there's like another really weird one. It's like, I think this is what me and Chris are going to have to start watching now.
Crap movies that everybody should love.
So I guess we should probably say, would you recommend this movie?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, you definitely have to know who you're recommending this to.
Yeah.
This isn't the kind of movie that you sit down on a first date and go, hey, let's watch this, unless you have a huge pair of cojones. But if you're like, like get a group of your guy friends over when it's not COVID times and you want to watch a shitty movie and like rag on it, this would be perfect because you could laugh, you could just The one thing is that the subtitles being 10 seconds off.
At least on the Amazon Prime.
Yeah, on Amazon Prime was really hard to watch. I've got to pop in my DVD to see if it's...
I do feel like, because I've watched this twice now, but I do feel like the movie is at least visually well made, that like you aren't too lost, and you kind of use the subtitles as just like a little bit of context here and there, but not... You never are lost throughout the plot.
You do kind of need the context in some places, like, why is he being forced to drink blood? At the very beginning, you're like, what is happening? There's a couple moments, I think at least 3 throughout the movie, where you're like, what is happening? And then like 10-20 seconds later, you're like, oh, I get it now.
There's a point in the movie where you just stop caring for context, though.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the part where like the frog grabs a grenade that was thrown at him, puts it in the ground, stands on it, and rockets off of it.
Yeah, he bows so he rockets up to it so he can do a huge kick and kill someone on the way down. Oh, God. And then he just rips off the frog costume, and it's just a frog humanoid man underneath it. So it's like, why?
The one girl who gets like infected with it and just rips off her hair to reveal
I thought that was a little boy.
Was it a little boy? I thought it was the wife of the guy that got murdered.
I thought that was his kid.
Oh.
Like he's got very long hair, and then after he gets bit to be a Yakuza, he just tears his hair off, and he's got like this perfect, like
a little afro kind of thing.
It's the gangster, the old style gangster Yakuza hairstyle that you see from like, you know, the early 90s, late 80s. Like,
when the first 3 people he infects.
They're just
the
random people?
Yeah, and like the 2 older people and like the girl in the schoolgirl.
Nurse, right?
No, she was in the schoolgirl uniform.
That's right.
And they do like the pose where it's just like, you know, hand on knees. They're like
squatting down. Yeah,
it's so funny.
You know, like the actual Yakuza come out from like a house or whatever after discussing their plan, and all they see is like these people acting like more exaggerated versions of them, like the dudes
walking
with the hands
around
in the
pockets. They go to the police and they're like gambling. And it's like, you know,
this lady's bleeding. You got to do something, and they're like,
you got to pay me to do it.
Yeah, it's just like, well, we do pay you. We pay taxes. Like, nah, give me like 1,000 yen. 1,000 yen is not a lot of money. I forget. But then it's so funny to see all these characters. Like, as soon as like everyone's a Yakuza, nobody's a Yakuza.
It's great. So yeah, good movie. Any parting words before we finish this episode?
I think we're gonna watch more of these type of movies.
I definitely have a whole bunch that
again.
I definitely want to show you.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have to keep watching.
And maybe even more from this director himself. I think you would probably like his stuff.
I think it would be very interesting to see the JoJo's, because I'm pretty familiar with the anime series.
I'd be interested to show you Ichigo the Killer, which is a little more of his serious, quote unquote.
I thought that was based off of like a creepypasta, though.
I think you're thinking of like Jeff the Killer or something.
I am thinking of Jeff the Killer. You're right. I'm having a Ryan Reynolds moment. Did you ever see the Ryan Reynolds movie that just came out with The Rock and Gal Gadot?
No.
My God, I know we're going over, but there's a perfect moment where they're in they're in Spain and they're in a bull arena, and the bull is going to start to charge, and the Rock and
Gal?
No. It's The Rock and Ryan Reynolds in the arena, and Ryan Reynolds is like, "Don't move! Bulls' eyesight are based on movement." He goes, "You're thinking of T-Rex." The Rock says, "You're thinking of T-Rexes. That was Jurassic Park." He's like, "No, I saw a documentary and it's no, you didn't." It's like, if you run, you die. And he goes, "Okay." And the bull is charging at him. The Rock's not moving. He goes, "Was there or was there not Jeff Goldblum in the movie?" And he goes, "Oh my God, it was Jurassic Park. That was Jeff Goldblum." I had that moment. Oh, that movie had me fucking howling. It's actually really good.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, 100%. I think I've seen it twice now. Actually, I've never seen movies twice. Unless they're Hot Fuzz. I've seen Hot Fuzz 1,000,000 times. Either way.
Anyway, so thank you for listening to the podcast. Please do comment, like, subscribe, whatever the people do for podcasts. If you are listening to this on something that is not YouTube, the episodes will probably be up earlier on YouTube because it's way easier for me to do it. Share it around.
And until next time, see you tomorrow.
They're not going to see us tomorrow, Chris.
Oh, yeah, it's a podcast. They don't see anything.
No, I'm not uploading another one tomorrow.
Just have to upload one tomorrow because I said so.
No!
All right. Goodbye.
See ya.